The Democrats have realized over the last few decades that that America is becoming more diverse. Immigration is driving diversity, patterns of interracial marriage, make more people who have some claim to be non-white. Also, there's the constant generation of new identities, such as in the last decade, transgenderism. So as America becomes more diverse, the Democratic Party can profit by being the party of diversity, the party of the diverse, the party of people from the fringes of American society, the party of people that the Democrats would call the marginalized, from the margins of American society. So you're talking about immigrants, you're talking about Black church ladies, transgenders, Jews, Muslims, etc., etc. Now, the one problem with all this is that while it works pretty well on paper, and the Democrats have managed to win the popular vote in 7 of the last 8 presidential elections, the problem is keeping this coalition of the fringes of the marginalized from turning on each other, from becoming a circular firing squad. And
because a lot of the components have very little in common.
Yeah, as we're seeing with Jews and Muslims right now, it's, these people do not like each other. Do the Black church ladies, who are the steadfast Democrats, do they really get along that well with the gays, much less with the transgenders? Nah. Do the Asian immigrants have much in common with Hispanic immigrants? Nah, not really. It can go on and on. It's inherent in the Democrats' grand strategy to be the party of diversity, the party of the fringes of American society. So how can they unite their coalition of the margins? And the one strategy the Democrats have come up with is basically to foster racist animus against core Americans, people who, basically are demographically somewhat like George Washington, Ben Franklin, John Adams, that are white, that are men, that are straight, maybe they own homes, maybe they're married, they have kids. And to make them the bad guys in the American narrative. And that's the only thing the Democrats and their colleagues in academia, et cetera, can think of to hold together this diverse coalition. So we've seen this enormous increase in just racist bigotry being expressed in, the pages of the New York Times in this century, things that in the past would have been considered rather in poor taste and extremist. So the New York Times will, has put in a lot of effort in recent years explaining the racist, sexist slur of Karen as this anti-white woman, racist slur to their millions of subscribers, so that they know just the right time to use it, and they make sure not to use it on any non-white Karens and so forth. You recently had on.
Can I just ask though? Yeah. My impression is that most of the readership of the New York Times is Karens.
Yeah, I would think.
But what I mean by that is like screechy, fragile, barren, NPR listing middle-aged lawyers.
Yeah, that's
in my mind's eye,
in the modal subscriber, perhaps. And the New York Times is not the failing New York Times anymore. They've done a very good job of identifying people who will pay to subscribe to have their worldview vindicated over and over again, and kind of for the Times to bury inconvenient facts that don't support their view of the world, in the 27th paragraph or something like that. So yeah, you recently had on Jeremy Carl. He's got a new book, The Unprotected Class, that documents at great length just this trend toward ever more anti-white racism in the respectable press and in media and the Democratic speeches and so forth. And, it's finally starting to backfire on Democrats. People are starting to notice just how much awful stuff is said about kind of the core Americans that tend to vote Republican. So I don't know. Have you been seeing this just over the last 10 years? Just huge increases and putting down white people.
Have I noticed it?
Yeah.
It's one of the defining facts of American society, and it's always perpetrated by people who are simultaneously, in the same sentence, giving you a lecture about racism.
Yes.
Shut up, white man. You're evil for being white and racist. Huh? It's like, there's so many, like, the contradictions in that sentence are so inherent that it's hard to believe anyone could utter it. But no, of course I noticed that. And I guess what I'm really struck by, and I don't know the answer, is why people put up with it. So at that point, it's like, well, like if you're attacking my children for their skin color, then I get my gun, right? But nobody does get his gun. They just sort of sit there and, can't say anything. Like, why? Why would anyone ever put up with that?
White Americans go out of their way not to just go, oh yes, I hear what you're saying about how the evils of whiteness and my children are children of whiteness and they have oppressed the world. And I've actually thought about that. And while that may sound like just lowbrow racist bigotry on your part, it actually has a really impressive intellectual heritage going back to the Frankfurt School and Gramsci, and updated by, in the critical race theory by Marcuse. And people will go on and on about, what you're saying isn't as moronic as it sounds and hate-filled bigotry. It's actually, you're getting this, and it all goes back to Marxism or Foucault or something like that. So yeah, Republicans, whites have been reluctant to call out just anti-white racism for what it is.
But why is that? I mean, clearly something is
polite.
broken inside, right? I mean, like, why would you put up with an attack that's, inherently unreasonable, right? You don't choose your race, therefore you probably shouldn't attack someone on the basis of his race. It's totally anti-American as defined by consensus over the last 60 years. That's one thing we're not allowed to do, and yet it's done at greater scale now than during the Jim Crow period. So, like, why would you even consider putting up with that? There must be something wrong with you. Like, you hate yourself, obviously.
Yeah. Republicans like other races, and good for them. And yeah, they want to blame the tendency that's been growing, especially in the Black Lives Matter era of the last decade, to just say the most bigoted things. They want to blame it on something old like Marxism. This isn't what African Americans want to say. My son's friends on his high school football team, they're not bigoted racists. And the truth is, yeah, a lot of them aren't. I mean, a lot of this stuff is coming out of colleges and so forth. It's kind of soft degree majors and so on. But, taking claims to have some deep intellectual heritage is naive. It's just it's just people with soft majors who got DEI sinecures and so forth in corporations and colleges, just expressing their basic prejudices, their basic bigotry. And, we should be laughing at it. We shouldn't be taking it that seriously. We should be satirizing it and scorning it and making jokes about it. And that could well get the message across.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. We hope you'll subscribe to it. And by the way, you can hit the little bell on there and get notifications every time we produce a video. We hope you'll do that also.